It's Television Man.
Of all of Arlington's parks, perhaps the most unusual is the Dark Star Park in Roslyn. The design was conceived by the artist Nancy Holt, and it was completed in 1984. It was Arlington's first major commissioned art project. The park consists of earth, sod, winter creeper, crown vetch, willow oak, stone dust, stone masonry, asphalt, steel, water, and gunite. Most people know about earth, sod, masonry, asphalt, steel, and water, and it's enough to say that winter creeper, crown vetch, and willow oak are all plants. But what in the world is gunite? Contrary to popular belief, gunite is not just what small children say at bedtime, once appeals for a glass of water are exhausted. Gunite is a kind of sprayed concrete, and it was used to create the distinctive spheres that represent the dark stars in the park. Each sphere has a carefully positioned hole through its center, and these holes are aligned so that on August 1st of each year, shadows cast by the spheres and steel poles align with permanent forms on the ground. August 1st was the day on which the land was purchased that later became Roslyn. If you do an internet search under Dark Star Park, you will learn that the park is located along North Fairfax Drive between North Fort Myer Drive and North Lynn Street. You will learn about Nancy Holt and the various financial supporters of the project. However, you won't find any mention of a man named Elmer Baker. Although the design of the park itself is properly credited to Nancy Holt, it was Elmer Baker who actually constructed the spheres out of gunite. Mr. Baker's specialty was swimming pool construction, but this also included some aesthetic additions to the pools he worked on, and his favorite material was gunite. It was quite a task to make sure that the gunite was smoothly applied to form the giant balls, while ensuring that the holes were exactly aligned. I met Elmer Baker a couple of times, having worked alongside his wife May for over 10 years, and I was tangentially aware of some of the projects he worked on. Dark Star Park has proven to be the most enduring of these. Sadly, Mr. Baker died in 1997 before the park was renovated in 2002. However, there's an anecdote I recall from a company party which Mr. Baker attended one year. One of our branch managers was an outspoken young lady. She approached Mr. Baker and asked to shake his hand. When he complied, she declared that she just had to shake the hand of anyone who was willing to put his balls on display in a public park. Maybe it's not the greatest epitaph, but at least it's something.
Hey there, stranger, are you going my way? Seems we'll be together for a while, and it's such a long, long road with so many things to see, and I'm looking for someone in whom I can confide, for you know I'm only going for the ride. Hey there, stranger, you know you look familiar. Think think I've seen your face somewhere before. And I've such a long, long way with so many things to be. And I'm looking for someone whose feelings I can know, 'cause that's the only reason that I go. You know the thunder follows you whichever path you take, and the going's often painful, often slow, and the burden that you carry is your every last mistake, and yet that's the only way that you can go. Hey there, stranger, I think we'll soon be parting, split up now and go our separate ways, and at the journey's end there is nothing left to be, and you know your destination will always be the same, and the journey is the reason that you came. The journey is the reason that you came.
Hello, and welcome to Everyday Arlington. Earlier, I explored Barton Park, which was nice and quiet. However, there's another park practically next door. It's called Rocky Run Park, and it has many more of the features you'd expect from an Arlington County park. It has a hill for going down, and leaves for peeping through. It has a great big field, suitable for lots of things like soccer practice or running around or just generally being a kid. It also has a basketball court suitable for basketball. Especially nice is the special play area for really little kids. It's not that uncommon in Arlington, but it's still nice. And what would a park be without a great big sandbox with a kind of circular metallic table with holes in it? There also appears to be a water pump for mud pies. Maybe it's there so the kids can rinse off their hands, but I still vote for mud pies. I especially appreciated the availability of public restrooms. And when I say availability, I mean that the doors weren't locked. Rocky Run Park also has some of those new things that I don't really understand. Some people in my age group will appreciate the plentiful benches. Others will appreciate the other benches in the shade of the pavilion. Everyone but W.C. Fields will appreciate the presence of a working water fountain. So, where does all this happen? 1109 North Barton Street, of course. There's one final attraction, a very tall, ropey thing for kids to climb on and hopefully not learn any painful lessons about gravity. If you get to the top, you can slide down, or so I imagine. I didn't actually try it. And that about wraps it up from Rocky Run Park, another free feature in Everyday Arlington.
Hello, I'm ND, and I'd like to talk with you for a few minutes about suicide. But first, a little bit about me. When I was growing up, I attended church regularly, and I didn't doubt the reality of God or the spiritual realm. When I was about 16 years old, I took a long look at the adult world I was soon to join. What a mess! Political corruption, economic injustice, moral compromise, media bias, sexual temptations, and unending misunderstandings within families and friendships. Being an adult sure didn't look inviting. And the idea flitted through my mind, maybe I could avoid all those problems if I just took the initiative and went to be with God in the spiritual realm. It isn't uncommon for young people to balk at the threshold of adulthood. The problems of the world may look overwhelming, and a young person may feel totally unprepared to deal with them. But actually, it's using the challenges of life to develop our mental, emotional, and spiritual self that's part of the reason we're here. You may be familiar with the story of 3 men who were each given a sum of money by their master before he went to another country for a while. 2 of the men used the money in their community and increased it, but 1 man hid his money and did nothing. When their master returned, the man who had hidden his money was given a severe punishment. He was accused of being lazy and wasting the gift that had been given to him. This story is symbolic. Everyone is born with their own unique abilities. While we're here, we're expected to use our abilities to engage with the challenges of life and thereby increase our knowledge, skills, and strengths. If we run away from life's challenges, we waste a precious opportunity to grow, and we end up with less ability than we started with, because abilities that aren't used waste away. Here's another story. A man discovered a pearl of great price. He gave everything he had so he could own that pearl. Now, pearls are grown inside of oysters. A piece of grit gets inside an oyster, and it irritates the oyster. And the oyster rubs against the grit and keeps rubbing until it creates a smooth, hard cover all around that piece of grit. That smooth, hard cover is a pearl. The symbolism in this story is that a man created a beautiful pearl in his spirit by working with whatever irritated and challenged him during his life. He gave everything he had in order to learn the lessons pregnant within the injustice and the illogic and the difficulties that he faced during his life. When he died, his spirit owned the pearl of great price he had been creating all his life. I call it the invincibility disease when people do dangerous things for fun. When people drink and drive, or use illegal drugs, or take up a dangerous sport, such as hang gliding, it's as if they are putting God to the test to keep them safe. It's as if they think they are invincible. Perhaps subconsciously they are running away from life because it looks so overwhelming to them. Some people who have died while doing one of these dangerous things and have been revived say they saw only blackness on the other side of life. This is significant because in the field of near-death experience, where doctors interview people who have died and have been revived, about 50% of those who have been revived after death say they saw light on the other side and talked with departed loved ones and watched the efforts to resuscitate them. I think the reason thrill seekers don't have these positive experiences is because when someone commits suicide whether deliberately or through deliberate carelessness, when they throw the gift of life back in God's face, they're not rewarded with pleasantness on the other side of life. Instead, they experience spiritual solitary confinement, a place where there is no light and no sound for the length of time they would normally have been alive. Their spirit is aware there, but there's no light and no sound because they rejected the opportunity for growth that was their life. It also happens that some people who attempt suicide don't die, but instead they permanently damage their mind or their body, and they then have to live with that severe disability for the rest of their life. There's another reason for suicide besides fear of the future, and that is depression. Now, you may be genetically predisposed to depression, but for whatever reason, if you are constantly depressed, talk with a professional counselor, or with your religious teachers, or with your family, or with your friends. They'll be glad to comfort you, and they very likely will have some enlightening observations and expert advice. If there's an experience you've had that keeps coming back to your mind, it may help to take constructive action in order to rebalance emotionally. Here's an example. When Muslims and Hindus were separating to create the nations of Pakistan and India, respectively, a Hindu man tearfully admitted to Gandhi, the leader of India, that he had killed a Muslim and he felt his soul was in danger. Gandhi told him he must adopt a Muslim orphan and raise him as a Muslim. When we have done something that we later deeply regret, or we are the recipient of someone else's regrettable behavior for which there is no legal redress, it can help to take constructive action to rebalance emotionally. Feeding your mind inspirational art is a way to cheer yourself up. As you carry within you music and literature and pictures that remind you of beauty and love and God and a goal that you have. Each morning when you get up, if you make a list of blessings for which you are grateful, it can lift your mood and give you perspective. Reaching out to help others is a way to overcome depression, because while we're busy helping others, we have a lot less time to worry about our own problems. Experts say that exercise is a way to overcome depression. There's another reason for depression, and that is our body chemistry can cause us to be depressed. But there are natural ways to change that. Scientists have learned that artificial flavorings cause depression. So it's an easy thing to just read the ingredients label of whatever you're about to eat and avoid those foods that contain artificial flavorings. Many candies and cookies contain the artificial flavoring vanillin. So, if you want to avoid depression, you might learn how to make your own all-natural sweet treats and avoid those that mess with your emotions. If you avoid other artificial ingredients, you gain even more control over your emotions. You might be interested in the website for the Feingold Association. That's spelled Feingold. The late Dr. Ben Feingold was a pioneer in the study of how artificial ingredients in foods impact our nervous system and brain. At the website, you can find references to some of those studies, as well as books that tell how to make almost any food from scratch. I'm going to give you a recipe for a very easy to make candy. Only 3 ingredients, no cooking. This is so easy. Combine together equal amounts of honey and peanut butter, and then mix in as much powdered milk as it takes for it to hold its shape. That's it. If you wash your hands before you start, you can mix this up with your hands in about 3 minutes, because half the fun is licking the candy off your fingers when you're finished. If you use organic peanut butter, remember to put it in the refrigerator in between uses. Whether or not you drink alcohol, you might keep it in mind. The after effect of alcohol is depression. It's important to overcome fear and depression in order to have hope, so we can dream the impossible dream and fight the unbeatable foe. Even if eventually we have to accept that we're not going to achieve everything we most want, we should remember that it is in the process of working towards goals that we develop layers of patience, humility, compassion, loyalty, wisdom, strength, and endurance in the invisible part of ourselves. The pearl of great price. That is all we take with us when we pass naturally to the other side of life. Achieving a goal is nice, but just making an honest effort each day will give you something priceless and precious that is yours for eternity. And that in itself is worth engaging with the challenges of life. Thank you for letting me talk. May the Lord guide and protect you.
Let us pause to remember the small songs, the little thoughts, and gentle tunes, like mortar that binds the large stones together, helping to keep out the wind and weather in a comforting home. Let us rest and rejoice in the small songs, the graceful airs and simple rhymes, like a gentle breeze in the summer sky, helping the great clouds drift on by in a peaceful time. Something in a small song makes me feel like a small child who only sees what's real. Leaves on the trees, sand along the shore, a gentle breeze, a summer sky, a peaceful time, a small song.